Hey guys, today we are continuing our discussion over memory. And don't forget, tomorrow we have office hours from 9 to 10 a.m. Where I'll be talking about the grading guidelines that's coming for the rest of our time together on our online and digital learning. So make sure to tune in. We just got information about grading guidelines today, so I'll be sharing you with what I know and how that's going to work. But until then, let's talk about memory. And today we're talking about forgetting. So sometimes forgetting is not just because you can't recall the information, but what if you never encoded it in the first place? So everyone has seen a penny in their life, and you've seen it many, many times. But did you encode it? Did you really study the penny, either effortfully or automatically? So look at the screen. You see there's a whole bunch of pennies, and they're all a little bit different. But which one is the correct one? Which one is the one that is right? So I'm going to give you some time, and I'm going to have you guess, write down if you would like. Maybe I can have my husband right here guess which penny do you think is correct? Oh, no, he doesn't want to. But I know that you want to test yourself on which penny is correct. So which one is it? Which way does Lincoln face? Is there a date or not? And what are the words on top? Is the word liberty on there, or is it 1 cent? Is it in God we trust, or is it the United States of America? Well, sometimes you forget to encode it, but there's only one right answer here, and it's A. Only this first penny is the correct penny. All the other ones are made up using bits of other coins or bits of what we think is on there and things like that. But sometimes we forget because we never really got it into our brain in the first place. And so it's a forgetting because of encoding failure. So how do you enhance your memory? How do you make your memory better? Because most people say, that they have a poor memory. I know that I've said that many times. And so how do we get our memory to be better? Well, obviously, studying helps. Trying to effortfully encode and rehearsal and studying is going to boost retention and recall. Spend more time studying, actively thinking about the material, not passively. So, I've asked many people like, hey, did you study for the test? And they're like, oh yeah, I read over my notes. Reading over your notes is not actively studying. It is very passive. That's just saying like everything that you've ever read, you've memorized. No. So you have to and you have to rehearse it for you to retain it. Make it personally meaningful. I think this is the entire profession of a teacher summed up into 4 words. Making material personally meaningful. Use mnemonic devices like acronyms. You guys know like PEMDAS. And we've talked about OCEAN in this class, the personality test, OCEAN, from the trait perspective. Remember, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, but it spells OCEAN or canoe. Yesterday we talked about the PORN acronym. We've talked about so many acronyms to help us remember things. What about, do you guys know your Great Lakes? Great Lakes spells homes, HOMES. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. I'd like to thank my husband from, if you remember from, what is it? What do y'all call it? It's not what's AP World. What do y'all call it?
APUS?
No, AP World History.
AP World History.
But there's like a push, but it's like WAP. That's what it is, WAP. WAP, y'all have sluts for the sinking of the Lusitania. I did not have Miss Fleece or Miss Mercer for my teacher, so I do not know world history as much as I should, unfortunately, or U.S. for that matter. Okay. But there are some things for peg words. This, I don't think, is used as often as it used to be, but I remember when I was in elementary and junior high and stuff, we used peg words a lot. We would make up a song using peg words, and I remember for the uh, like steps of like having an experiment in a scientific method, that right there, we was like one sun, state a hypothesis, two shoe, collect data, which honestly is a really bad way, I think, a bad method to remember things because one sun is like rhymes, but it doesn't go anything with like make a hypothesis. So I don't know. Okay, well, we gotta be quiet because I'm making a video. I'm gonna see if I can try to edit this out later, but probably not because I'm not very good at that. So make up a story. I know that people make up a story for like never eat soggy waffles for north, south, east, west. I know that there's another one for like the planets, but then there's also ones for like music notes. Like
Face.
there's face, but then in the spaces, like the lines themselves instead of the spaces is like every good boy does fine or something like that. It's like a make up a story. Chunking. This is an AP term that you'll see a lot, and you actually see it a lot just in general. Chunking is when you make things like a long string of things, you put it in chunks. Like your phone number is chunked. There's the area code, then there's 3 digits, a dash, and then 4 digits. It's chunked into not a whole, not 10 numbers, but 3 chunks of numbers. And there's no way, there's no reason of why there's 3 and 4. It could have easily been like 2 and 5. Math is hard. But phone numbers are chunked. License plates are chunked into like 2 separate parts. Your social security number is chunked for like 3, 2, and 4. The only reason to chunk numbers is to make it more easy to remember. So you're not remembering a whole bunch of strings of digits. You're only remembering several things. So this is how people memorize multiple digits of pi. There's like contests of how many digits of pi they can memorize. And people go on for like hundreds and hundreds of digits. And how they do that is by chunking it. They're not remembering each separate digit. What they do is they typically break it into like phone number length chunks, and they're not memorizing 100 digits. They're memorizing 10 phone numbers, which is pretty simple to do. You can memorize 10 phone numbers because that's what you used to do before you had a cell phone. You just had to memorize everyone that you had to memorize their phone number. Okay. Have retrieval cues, meaning like, remember how we talked about mood dependent memory and like state dependent memory? And it's technically mood congruent, but whatever. Try to be in the same frame of mind that you were when you made that, when you are trying to remember something, when you made that memory, try to, if you lost something in your room, be in your room when you're trying to find it. Like, go back to this place of where you thought of this, and hopefully that should trigger that memory again. Method of loci. This is a retrieval cue that I tried to use in class, if we were in class. Method of loci is trying to remember based on the location. So like sometimes people will do this when they're taking a test. They're like, oh my gosh, I remember where I wrote this definition. It was on the top of that page. It was on the left-hand corner. I put like a bubble around it. Gosh, what did it say? So it's trying to use the location of where things were as a retrieval cue. So on the like when I put my cards and stuff, like my vocabulary cards on the board, I'll try to keep them in a certain space, like for the entire unit. So you remember like, oh, it was right there. Gosh, what did it say? And you try to like focus on that space, focus on that location as a retrieval cue. Try to recall events when they're fresh. So don't let them forget. Try to always have things in your mind, which kind of makes sense. Minimize interference. The interference that I'm talking about is that proactive and retroactive interference, because both of those terms talk about how old and new information interfere with each other. So don't let that happen by being aware of like, I am learning something new. How can I still retain this old information and this new information at the same time? Test your own knowledge, obviously. Flashcard yourself or ask yourself questions. This is how I said it in college. I would try to guess what the test questions would be. Like, what have we learned? And why? How could a teacher be asking me to recall this information? What was the terms that they would want me to know? And so then try to test yourself, see if you do know those things. Rehearse, that just means study. And determine what you don't know. It boggles my mind as a teacher sometimes when students say like, man, I have no idea how I did on that test. It's like, how do you not know what you know and what you don't know? There has to be some sort of knowledge of like, oh, I got this, and oh, this is something I do not know. You should be able to determine what you know and what you don't know. Okay, that is the end of memory. We're going to start with thinking next week. And there's someone at the door, which is why the dog is going crazy. I believe Amazon just dropped off something. But, Charlie, shh. All right, guys. That was the end. I'm going to leave you guys with a little exit ticket. And I will see you guys at office hours tomorrow. Have a good day.